Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you all feeling in this fine Saturday morning? Well, I'm feeling good. This is the Motivator Show alongside Empress Abner. She'll be here shortly. Let's get the show on the road. Oh, yeah. I'm feeling so good. I went for my run this morning. I'm feeling invigorated. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? Remember, your health is your wealth. I want to thank, of course, the last presenter on GalaxyAffiliate.net, Ian King, and of course the Galaxy management for their sterling work. But of course, those of you who are listening or indeed watching us via YouTube and Facebook, thank you for using that platform, because you can both see and hear my person. And of course, you can see and hear our guest as well. It's a more powerful presentation format. I also want to encourage you, if you haven't done so already, during this show, during this broadcast, why don't you give us a like? That's the thumbs up. There you are, the thumbs up. Okay, or subscribe, that you're notified of future programs. No cost you whatsoever. It's simply an affirmation that you like our content. Let me put up that other graphics again. There you are. Shows you what you can do. You can either subscribe, you can like, and of course share the link of this show, of this broadcast, to your family and friends, to your network, just so that you can spread the word. There you are. Subscribe, like, or share. So thank you all. Thank you all for your support and your continued support. This has been a tremendous time here on the airways. So without further ado, let me now continue. It has been the most interesting, strong, I have to say. A great deal has happened. It's been an exciting time, a truly thrilling time, a time to remember. And I'll get to that later on. But today's show will be the second part of our review of last year's show. I hadn't realized until I started to review the contents of last year. It's quite remarkably rich. It's a rich experience, truly enthralling experience. It's an experience for me that if I wasn't positive prior, I am positive now. Remember, success is ours for the taking. And this is where we translate words into action. Yeah? So they're not simply hollow statements. They become a proactive part of our lives. And this has happened repeatedly following each of the various shows. Truly a stimulating experience. And I want to thank all of you, those of you who've contributed directly to the show, guests and callers, and those of you who've watched and listened and have spread the word. I want to thank you all for your support, because without you, well, this would not be the same. But the essential messages clearly are resonating. The essential messages clearly are resonating. So this is a worthwhile venture. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah? Success is ours for the taking. It's within our power, within our grasp, to ensure becomes an actuality. I paused there. I want those words to sink in. I want the words to sink in. Yeah. We're going to continue to change the narrative. We will continue to change the narrative. We're never again going to speak negatively about ourselves. Never again. We're never again going to accept second or third place as a norm. We're not going to accept less than for ourselves, our families, our friends, our networks. Never again. Okay? What we are going to do, accept that we are a powerful community. Yeah? And we believe in ourselves. And by virtue of that, anything is possible because success is ours for the taking. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, and I see we are joined by Empress Abna. How are you, my Empress? How are you, my dear?
Good, I slept well. I went to bed early, watched a movie, went to bed early, and now I'm up live again.
She went to bed early. She went to bed early. Now she's up. But tell me, how do you feel? How do you feel?
I want it to be the holidays again.
Remember, that's a mindset. It is a mindset, my Empress. It is very much a mindset, okay? Anything is possible. Whatever you want, you can gain. Mm-hmm.
A year-long holiday. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pray for a year-long holiday.
Work towards it. Trust me.
To pray.
Yeah, trust me. Work towards it. It will not simply manifest when you say so. It's manifest because you work towards it. Yeah, because you have made it happen. Oh yes, my Empress, I'm feeling good today. This is the Motivator Show alongside the Empress Abner. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm feeling so good. I'm feeling so good. Okay, my Empress, let's go to the health messages. It's 15 minutes past the hour. I'm going to give out a few of these health messages, which most certainly have been resonating with the audience, with the listeners, with the viewers. Because without doubt, there are people who've changed their lifestyle so they can live longer, healthier lives. Yep, many people who've done so. And there are others, of course, who still stand there, sit there resolutely, refusing to change, and waiting until they attract. That's what happens. You attract one of these typical lifestyle conditions. So let me go right into it. My Empress, I know, but I've now had the opportunity to review so many of our past shows. I've heard your comments on this health section. I may quite a few back to you today, so watch out.
I've got nothing to say. I've got absolutely nothing to say.
So, I say to listeners, I say to the audience, I ask you please to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you put into your bodies, yeah? That you deliberately put into your bodies. Remember, it's a conscious action. I ask you to consider, do you need to add the additional spoons of sugar to your teas or coffees? Now, I'm wondering now what the Empress is drinking right now. Is it a tea or is it a coffee? What is that?
I don't drink coffee. It's a peach and orange herbal tea.
Wonderful. Did you add sugar to it?
Pardon?
Did you add sugar to it?
I added honey.
Oh my.
But honey's different. It's called Manuka honey, so it's a different type of honey, and it's very expensive. It's not like the rubbish that you get in stores. It's a different type of honey.
You know what, my Empress? I was just like you. It's my actions and the final result of years of steady reduction. So you're right. I substitute sugar for honey. What else did I use? And a few other.
Stave was sugar, stave sugar, or something like that.
Cane sugar, yep.
Yeah, right. It's like a brown sugar.
But I did that as a deliberate act to gradually reduce my sugar intake. Because there was a time when I used to have sweet milk, and I mean really sweet milk, plus I would add white sugar to my teas and coffee. Can you believe that? How I did that, I have no idea. Oh, completely mad. So I had a very sweet tooth. But I accept it. But I know I know you well enough now that you're on your journey. Yeah, you're on your journey. That's why I've got the greatest respect for you. You're on your journey. I see myself, the actions you're taking.
What, the sleepless nights and not eating, that journey?
Thousands, indeed millions of our people who are on that journey right now. Some will view this broadcast, they're on the journey. So I ask you to consider the amount of sugar that you're ingesting. Okay? It comes in different forms. And in some ways, it's one of those really, one of those ingredients we add because it stimulates hormones in our brains, pleasure centers, as it were. Yep. And that's what makes sugar addictive, like chocolate, if you like, addictive. But in our community, when I say our community, I'm going to be very deliberate, our African communities, yeah, whether you're born on the continent or not, or you're born here in Europe, or the Caribbean, or the Americas, or indeed the Far East, those of African heritage, most certainly here in Britain, have way above average levels of diabetes in our communities. And the primary cause of that is sugar. Our body becoming numb to sugar, not processing sugar, not creating the amount of insulin we need, while you have to add insulin to your taking insulin in an artificial way. So I simply ask you to consider the long-term impact of adding additional sugar to your diet. Equally, I ask you to consider the amount of salt that you're ingesting. Okay, salt, again, another one of these ingredients, my empress. We spoke about this, and I noted in the previous broadcast, we spoke about this many times. Okay, and it's a profound impact that salt can have: hardening of arteries, the raising of blood pressure. You know, and I've said many times, I no longer buy a packet of sugar or salt from the grocery store. Okay, but salt was a more difficult one, despite the fact that I believe I had a sugar addiction. Okay, salt was more difficult for some reason to exclude from my diet. Not sure why, but I've succeeded now because my mental state has altered sufficiently. I know pleasure systems. Okay, but the hypertension or high blood pressure, again, for our communities, the African communities, again, is way off the charts. So I simply ask you all, please, to consider the amount of salt that you are ingesting into your bodies. Sugar and salt, two principal ingredients that we place in our cuisine in abundance, far too in excess, and over time, it damages our bodies. Yep. I also, please, my empress, ask yourself and the audience to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrates that we consume. Now, let's take carbohydrates first of all. We spoke about it in many shows, I see. And you made various comments, and you may make a comment this time, but let's see. Look, carbohydrate is very prevalent in our cuisine. Okay, now in some of these root vegetables, particularly the yams. Okay, particularly the yam, and of course the wheat products, particularly consumed in bread. Okay, but most certainly yam. Most certainly, I'm from the Caribbean. We most certainly eat yam. Yeah, we might call it hard food. Don't ask me why we call it hard food. I'll let someone else who's far cleverer than I just tell you why we call it hard food. But you know what? On the plate, it looked pretty dense. I think that may be an indication. Okay, but I know in West Africa and many parts of Africa, yam is a staple food. Okay, because it's easily grown. It's one of those crops you can easily grow, just like potatoes. It can easily grow. Okay, but every day and in the quantums that we consume it, okay, It's harmful to our bodies. Okay. And of course, in previous programs, I've discussed the bloating of our abdomens, the extending and bloating of our thighs. Okay. You see the big shoulders, big necks. Let's say those big wide necks, particularly when you see women, it's most noticeable. Okay. And of course, those big buttocks. Okay, or bottoms, if you like. I think I'm allowed to say that. Oh, what do you mean? You're laughing again. You laugh every time I say it. But it's part of our anatomy. Primarily caused not by genetics, but by our deliberate action, the food we are consuming. Okay, the food we are consuming. And fat, of course, primarily consumed via meat-related products or the oil that is distilled. Okay, and you recall when we had our previous guests, Lyndon Lissard, he talked about, of course, olive oil being much preferred than the corn oil, so-called vegetable oils, which is high in saturated fats. And he made it clear, moderating those intakes is vital to our general health. So I simply ask you all to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrates. And the last thing, I must just remind listeners and viewers that dairy products are simply another form of cow's fat. I repeat, just another form of cow's fat. Cheese is hardened, condensed cow's fat. Margarine or butter is not quite so ardent, but you can spread it on your bread or use it in your cooking. Okay? And of course, milk is just simply a bovine lactose, which is primarily cow's fat, intended for calves, human babies. I can't see it being beneficial for adults, unless you obtain some medical guidance to suggest so. So I simply ask listeners and viewers to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrates. And lastly, and this is where you've also made interesting commentaries in the past, my Empress, I want you to consider the amount of starch that you consume. Okay, starch in our rice, primary source, of course. Of course. Now, I'm from the Caribbean. We say rice and peas, and we're from West Africa. What would you say? Jollof rice. Yeah?
There's loads of rices that we eat. It's not just jollof rice.
Please, come on, tell us about the different rice. Come on, tell us. Come on now.
You've got fried rice. You've got wachi, which is like similar to rice and beans, but it's black eye beans, and you put a leaf in it, which makes the rice a reddish color. So we have that. We have rice balls. So I don't know.
A lot of rice. In short, that's a lot of starch. And starch in our bodies, we store that starch in our bodies to convert for emergencies into sugar or insulin. Insulin breaks it down so we can use it in our muscles, in our flesh. Okay, but we store it in our bodies. And you see far too many of our members of our community who are overweight, and particularly women. And of course, nowhere in the animal kingdom would you see women who are typically heavier than the men.
Yeah.
And you know when that's happening on a typically, that we are out of balance. So I simply say to you all, please consider the amount of these ingredients we add to our cuisines. I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging. And for me, it most certainly has been challenging. But the benefits of this, I now eat far more fruits and vegetables, particularly green vegetables, which our bodies are designed to convert to blood and extract all the nutrients we need to build ourselves. Fruits and vegetables. And that was a lesson, of course, from our chef, the inspired diabetic. Fruits and vegetables. And he started to demonstrate how to cook healthily. And maybe what we should do is get him back here to discuss how to cook healthily. There you are, Lyndon. Lyndon, let's get you back again. How to cook healthily. He gave us a really interesting series of profiling how to cook healthily. And I think we should get him back again. It's a message has yet to fully resonate with the majority of our community. There's no doubt that we've contributed only a small amount to hundreds, if not thousands, and potentially millions of our peoples here in Britain, Europe, and beyond, changing their lifestyle in response that they want to live a long, healthy lifestyle. Yeah, a deliberate action. Remember, success is ours for the taking, where we translate words into action. And I recall in the earlier program, at this point, you said, but other foods don't taste as nice. I recall you saying, "Oh my gosh," you said, okay, and you talk. I'm only going to say, you're on the path. You're on the road to recovery. Okay, it has to be deliberate action. It's not the result of someone outside telling you what to do. Okay, it's not a result of you hoping someone will make you do it. It's a result of you deciding this is best for you, your loved ones, your family, your friends, and your community. That's fair, is it? My emphasis?
I think you want me to be on the road to recovery. I'm not on any road to recovery. I'm doing what's right for my body. So I've been looking at juices, different ways to eat. I think for me personally, my body feels at its best when I'm doing intermittent fasting. So I think that's something I want to pursue a lot more. And anyway, as Muslims, we fast anyway on Mondays and Thursdays. And then obviously we fast for Ramadan. Then we fast for the second Eid. So to be honest, for me, that's the best kind of remedy for my body. Obviously, what I put into my body is great. But the thing is, it's also the oils that we put in our food. I know in Ghanaian food, they use a lot of oils, especially palm oil, which is not the greatest thing to use. But I don't really cook like that. So to be honest, me and my son are not the best salad eaters. My son has said to me, Mum, I am going to start eating healthily. I'm going to eat more vegetables. So when he goes to his dad's, he has more vegetables. I've tried to incorporate more vegetables, but if I don't eat carbohydrates and stuff like that, personally myself, I get a headache. So for me personally, I need rice. I need a bit of bread, but rice is my go-to food, to be honest. I love rice and potatoes and yam. That is the foods that I would eat, and spinach. Those are my things I cannot live without, an egg. But other than that, the rest of the food I probably could live without, to be honest.
And as I said earlier, you're on the journey, okay? You're on the journey. So, of course, you know, and therefore you either consciously, subconsciously take deliberate action to moderate the intake. I haven't said to people, stop. I said, just moderate it gradually over time. Just moderate it. Because there's the evidence is an abundance of the impact these foods or these particular ingredients in excess have on our community. Okay.
I personally think dieting is not something that can be sustained for a long period of time, but intermittent fasting is something you can sustain for a long period of time. And especially it's for people from their 20s to their 60s. And even in Southeast Asia, they fast as well with only hot water. So if these people are doing these things over generations and generations, it's obviously working for them.
And, you know, and you're making a really good point. And of course, I've met you personally, obviously, okay? And you don't mind me saying this, you look to be in reasonable shape, okay? And it's quite evident. It is quite evident that you think about these matters, yeah? And of course, you've got your son there, okay? So if only for your son's sake, it is the right action to take, yeah? If only for your son's sake, because, he follows your example, being the parent, children follow the parent's example, okay? And that's the other message I want to get across. Children follows the parents' examples. So as parents, it's our duty to teach them good habits they can take into their adulthood. Okay? Take into their adulthood and teach to their own children, indeed our grandchildren. Okay? So they live longer, healthier lives. So I get it. Don't worry. I am very stubborn. I tell you. Okay? So I'm not easy. I am not easy. Nevertheless, though, I have an abundance of common sense, and I hear good advice. Okay, I may occasionally, forgive me, often resist it. Okay, but I hear good advice. Okay, there you are. So let's do this. The other part, what I must say, eating more fruits and vegetables, coupled with drinking the appropriate amount of water. Well, there's my usual water bottle, okay? 2 to 3 liters of water, I'm told, per day is the recommended amount. In addition to that, of course, exercise is important. Again, all what I'm saying, I keep emphasizing, it's important for you to obtain professional advice. I'm not a professional, but I'm an elected official. I see the stats, and the stats make for uncomfortable reading. Very uncomfortable reading in relation to our community. So it's quite evident we need to drink more, eat more green vegetables generally, eat more, consume more fruits, drink the appropriate amount of water, 2 to 3 liters per day, speak to your doctor, speak to your nutritionist as to the appropriate amount for your height, size, mass. And of course, exercise. It's absolutely critical. Exercise is absolutely critical. Yes, I'm going to get it out. I
don't agree with the BMI study. I don't agree with that because loads of me and my friends are the same height, similar weights, and we've all got conditions, and we eat similar foods.
Now, I'm not going to contest what you're saying.
Because at the end of the day, it depends, and also it depends on what part of the world you come in, where you live. So the amount of sunlight, the amount of sleep, the way you live your life. Like some days I don't even get to eat lunch and I'm still the same size. Okay. Where some of my friends don't eat lunch and they manage to put on weight.
Okay. So here's my response to you. It's important for us to speak in the general, in the majority of cases. Let me just go through this. So I'm not actually personally shared with you some of the health stats that I see, but much of it is in the public domain.
But don't you think that is scaremongering as well? Because how do we know these stats are accurate? How do you know they're not scaremongering our society for us to follow what they want us to follow? Because there is a lot of scaremongering, a lot of pandemics that seem to happen, scares people, and then we go back to normal. So that's why I'm very skeptical.
Can I respond? No, wait, I want to respond.
I know you're going to respond.
Don't you worry. You see, I was just like you, and I asked those self-same questions. So my one starting question, you said it perfectly. How do we know it's accurate? The information comes from GPs. Who are GPs? Our personal physicians.
General practitioners.
Let me do this. Our doctors. And what the doctors have is a really good insight as to the health of their communities, because they are community-based, or what we call primary care doctors. So what's important is that if you collate all the results of the doctor's health profiling of their patients into a central computer, it gives you the opportunity to get an overview of what are the conditions prevailing in the community. Yep. Now, you could say to yourself, oh, but my doctor must be lying to me in that case then. I shouldn't really go to my doctor for health guidance and treatment, should I? I then say to you, well, these people have dedicated themselves to saving lives, doing good. Yeah. It's like a religious person, a holy person who dedicate themselves to, doing good, spreading the good word. They're no different. They are no different. So yes, you should question them, You should question how the data is collated and is it robust? I think that's fair, and I've asked those questions. But I've spoken to enough doctors, GPs, to appreciate maybe the odd case or two, maybe I might question, but the majority are very clear what are the typical conditions that they're encountering when they see their patients. Let me just go off straight away. Diabetes, particularly in the African community, is high. Hypertension or high blood pressure is way off the scale. Cancers, abnormally high. Heart conditions, abnormally high. A tendency towards some aneurysms or swellings is quite high in our community. Okay, and what I will say is quite prevalent. The cuisine is a major factor. And secondly, not drinking enough water, and most certainly not exercising enough. I make a point before doing this show of going for a good run, or if I don't go outside, I do my weight on all parts of my body. So look, you can see some of the sweat on my brow now. I do that because it reinvigorates my body. It heightens my immunoresponse. Okay, brighten my outlook because I feel more alive. Okay, and most certainly enables me to survive today with greater determination and intention. And because of my mindset, it's now quite focused. And I've raised my immunoresponse. Even though I'm surrounded by lots of sick people, for the most part, I don't get sick, for the most part. Now, you could say, well, that was just accidental. I say to you, there's a certain amount of genetics involved. There's no doubt about that. My family's a long-lived family. There's no doubt about that. But if we don't take deliberate acts to protect ourselves, then all the maladies that pervade our environment will get you. Over to you, my Empress. What do you say to that?
I don't really rely on GPs, to be honest, because sometimes I've self-diagnosed myself before I've even gone to the GPs. I've been to GPs where they've literally opened a book or gone online, exactly what I've done, and said, you've got this. When I've said that, and I told them that myself, not disrespecting their profession and what they do and the fact that they've trained for it many years. But to me, sometimes GPs, you've gone there and they're not really listening to you. They want to get as many patients in, give you a 10-minute slot and do what they need to do. And I'm saying this from someone whose son has been misdiagnosed and has to reapply on the NHS because they found that there was nothing actually wrong with him that the GPs didn't identify, but we went to someone else who identified something. So I'm saying this, they're only human, they make mistakes, but some of them are not great at their jobs. And again, like teachers, like GPs, they try to meet quotas for certain statistics or whatever they're trying to make it for, or whatever stats they're trying to reach or targets they're trying to reach. So to be honest, I think it boils down basically to us having self-knowledge, self-teaching ourselves, retraining our bodies, and not just listening to just professionals. It's also listening to our bodies as well. That's just my take on it. And that's why I do intermittent fasting. I didn't have to go to a GP to know about that. I did research because I have a condition. I have 2 conditions. And I obviously want to have a longer life for my son. It's not I went to the GP. I did it myself because it's important that I look after myself because I have people that depend on me. I have people in the community that depend on me. So I didn't go to a GP to find out. The last time I went to a GP was for an ear infection because I needed antibiotics. Other than that, if I didn't have the ear infection, I don't think I recall going to the GP in the last 2 years, even before COVID.
And I hear you. And
my diet is not as great as the diet that you talk about, but I managed to still sustain my health without using the tips that you've given me.
Again, I hear you. But I know you're going to agree, because you have agreed in many, many shows previously, and today you're feeling good, huh? Okay. Generally, moderating, if not excluding additional salt and sugar and fats in carbohydrates in our diet, moderating that intake just makes good
For
health.
for some people it does, but let me remember we spoke yesterday and I told you what I had to eat at work. Remember what I told you I had? And you were so horrified about what I ate. So viewers, I had 2 bags of Haribos, a packet of crisps, a picnic bar, another packet of crisps, a bit of cake, and I can't remember what I had as well, and herbal tea. So 2 lemon and ginger herbal teas and a bit of water. And that is my diet because sometimes I don't get to eat at work. But when I come home, I have a proper meal.
If I may.
Obviously, my body is very different from other people's bodies. And again,
if I may, my Empress, if I
yeah.
may. That is the beauty of youth. Yeah, you laugh, huh?
I'm not even young, so that's why I'm laughing.
Excuse me, my dear. Excuse me, my dear. That is the beauty of youth. Yep. And trust me, I'm a truly I've as a younger man, I was exactly the same. I don't have any conditions, I might add, but I've seen far too many of my friends contract conditions, and too many, I believe, are no longer with us today. Too many, okay? And many of those conditions are related to their lifestyle. Too many, far too many. So I'm not going to sit here and say to you, well, no, you should stop it now, okay? But you have to go through your own self-actualization, yeah? Your own self-actualization. And by that I mean, understand what is right for your body at different stages in your life. But now you are, I know you. You're still young, you're fresh. I see you being fresh. I mean, healthily fresh, I might say, huh? Okay? You have all the vigor of life, all the vigor of life. But of course, soon you'll enter your middle age. Mm-hmm.
I'm there.
Well,
I'm there.
Remember, you got genetics on your side. Got genetics on your side, okay? Genetics on your side. And then you enter your elderly stage. And whatever habit you formed in your earliest stage of your life will become cumulative over time, okay? So I say to you, think forward. Prepare yourself for your elderly stage in your life. That's what I say. I say to the listeners and viewers, prepare yourself for your elderly stage of your life, okay? And if you want it to be less cumbersome, burdensome on your family, your loved ones, your friends, your community, take care of yourself now. Take care of yourself.
You know, viewers, we agree to disagree on these health matters, and that's not. And I understand why he says this, because there is a lot of issues in our community. But I feel like I know my body, I know what it needs, I know what it likes, and obviously, as I'm getting older, I'm not going to be as strong. But like I said, when my mum goes back to Africa, she never has no ailments. So maybe that's what I need to do exactly what my mum does. Go back home, come back here for 6 months, go back home. And I'm being honest, when my mum was in Ghana about 3 years ago, she never coughed. She never complained about her knee. She never had no issues. She was the best health I ever seen. When I used to call her, she was amazing. So I don't know whether it's the climate that we're in, or it's the way the food is made here, but it's something you lot should consider as well. Maybe going back, if you can afford it, right? If you have the means to go back home for a bit, come here, go back home. It's an idea.
You know, I'm not going to contradict you, because this is a healthy discussion, because this is happening in households across the nation, across the world. Okay, when faced with clear, untangible facts, we still find a way of articulating to ignore the facts. Okay, and that, I said, it's a process of self-actualization. Because you know what, I'm old enough now to see many cycles. Okay, and I've seen hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, therefore, I gaze upon you and I say, well, oh, the beauty of youth.
I don't know if I would disagree with that, but yeah, that's fine.
If I may, my Empress, let me just go on to reason for this show, okay? Because it is an important one, I think. You see, the life expectancy in Ghana for a woman is 64 years old. The life expectancy of a person here in Britain, I just want to just check it up now. Let me just bring it up in my thing.
How old is your data or data?
This is the latest data, the Office of National Statistic. Okay. So clearly you could challenge it. You could say that they haven't collated their figures correctly, and that's fair enough. You could do that. Why not? We could do that. But you know what? If they're getting it wrong, then we're all in trouble. Yeah, then we're all in trouble. Yeah, so we can be reasonable. Now, let me assure you that the average age for Britain for a woman is 82 years old, where in Ghana is 64 years old. 20 years difference. Now, so it's possible for you to gain a perception that people living longer in Ghana, and that's because of the way in which information is shared in Ghana. I assert, okay? And if you look at the number of doctors per 100,000, okay, it's very different to what it is here in Britain, okay? So if you don't get the information, if it's not readily available to the community develops its own ideas about its general health, okay? But a 20 years difference, I would say to you, that's more than a statistical interest. That's an enormous the difference in life expectancy. So it's difficult, therefore, to agree with you that people are healthier in Ghana when compared to Britain. Because clearly, the lifetime outcome doesn't suggest that's the case. And the Ghana figures are compiled by the government of Ghana, not by the government of Britain.
I'm not going to say anything. But you're not even accounting for the people that live in villages. How do you know they're accounting for the people that are living in villages?
You can contest it, but I'd invite you just to go away and do your own research.
I will.
You're just like me, a good few years ago, on that path. But I'm not going to discuss this further. I'm going to ask you, outside of the show, to go away and do your research.
2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. I've got a busy week ahead of me.
Absolutely. And we get a specialist doctor in as well to talk about this issue, because I think it's a really important one, because this will give you greater resolve to look at our lifestyles, look at what we eat, because we are what we eat ultimately. But my Empress, the purpose of today's show, and in the time that we have, is to review some of the outstanding shows we had in 2022. And it was truly a rich year for the Motivator show. Truly a very rich show. And I would just want to, first of all, begin with an interesting one, with someone who I know very well now, Naima Ali. And she came to talk to us about female genital mutilation. Yeah, she herself is a survivor. She is a survivor. So I did want to just play a few minutes of this interview with her, and I hope you would agree at the end of it that she provided some eye-opening testimony. It's a subject we don't discuss in our communities, and we do need to discuss them. But let's if I may, let's bring them up on the screen, and let's get a taster of this wonderful experience, an experience to behold. Okay, so let me just get it up now, if I can find what I'm looking for. There we go. Let me do this now. And I wonder, my Empress, are you aware if FGM occurs in Ghana? I wonder.
Apparently some parts of Ghana, maybe the north, because that's where mostly the Muslims are in it, because people associate FGM with Islam, but it's actually not. It's a cultural thing, and it's more to stop promiscuity in the community. And I think that's what it's for. And I think it's like a coming of age thing. That is why it's practiced in a lot of like sub-Sahara Africa, Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, those kind of countries, South Sudan. Somaliland, maybe not North, maybe I would say, maybe some parts of East Africa, Central Africa. It is practiced in those parts of the world.
Okay, let's get to this video because it's really was very much an eye opener. Let's go right into it. There we go.
I first of all, our guest has arrived. A wonderful, outstanding empress named Naima Ali. Welcome to you. Welcome.
Thank you.
As wonderful as ever, I have to say. Oh, and I wish I had this picture, Naima. We need more pictures of you, remember?
I know. I did tell you. I wasn't so good at publicity and that.
Right. We are grateful. We are grateful that you can share a few minutes with us today, and the time will pass very quickly. And I understand we may also have another guest, as you know, from the Forward organisation, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So let's move on. I know that I want to make sure that we get as much out of this as possible and deepen, heighten our understanding of what it means. And I'll first of all use the posh terminology. What is female circumcision? Or indeed, the correct term, in my view, FGM, female genital mutilation. Okay, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, which I hope will provide for the listeners an insight as to what it means when we discuss this subject. But I know that you are someone with some expertise on the subject, and therefore are ideally able to respond to my inquiries on behalf of the community. So my first question, before I get into that first question, I want to first ask you to introduce yourself and just tell the listeners, not too much, but a little bit about you, Naima Ali, please. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I say good morning to all your lovely listeners, and thank you so much, Martin, for inviting me to this. FGM has been something so close to my heart, and when I say it, and that's one of the reasons that I never had any pictures or anything, I do everything behind closed doors, but today here I am. Anyway, it is always good.
Naima, I will thank you. For your courage, okay? You said it. Normally behind closed door, but today you're exposing yourself. You will share your experience. Continue, please.
Yep. And it's always good to know who I am and why am I so much passionate about this topic. One, I am a mother of 4 and I've got a daughter. I have 17 years experience of working in health and social care. I was a primary care practitioner working with drug addicts, and that has made me a professional to understand what it is being a professional. And I'm a trustee of an organization reaching out to the poor, and I'm an active member of my primary care practitioner. I'm a community and a political activist, and I'm a business owner.
Wow.
So all that kind of thinking make me have that confidence of saying I know what I'm talking about. And the main bit one is I'm a survivor myself.
You are a survivor.
Yep.
Respect.
And then when I say I am a survivor, I want to say, how do people or professionals treat somebody like me? Mm-hmm. How do the non-practicing community see somebody like me? How do we see each other as? Do we have that voice for us to be heard? Do we allow other people to make decisions for us? Mm-hmm. Why are we allowing other people to talk for us when we are the ones who can say about how it feels to be us? So those are the kind of things. And that is one of the reasons that I moved and I questioned activism. Being a community activist is not just that enough. I have to be a political activist for my voice to be heard. So that is me. Thank you.
I pause for a moment, my Empress. truly courageous, isn't she? A survivor.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of people from the Somali community who do come and speak about their experiences with FGM. And I know it's spoken widely in primary schools to secondary school age, because that's when a lot of girls are taken. Apparently in the UK, there's actually a department that deals with girls that if they go abroad for longer than 4 weeks, they're going to get married or have FGM. But also, apparently, FGM is also practiced in the UK, and there's a lot of people that fight against it as well.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's continue, because that's terrifying to hear that it's been practiced here in Britain. I believe it's illegal here.
It is illegal in the UK.
Yeah, let me now continue. Here we go.
First of all, what an insight. And you are a survivor. And those survivors who are listening, please, I'm going to invite you to call at any point during this interview, because we want to hear from you. And I'm certainly going to go to the men later. And the number to call for those who are in doubt, to call the studio is 0208 133 56116. I repeat, 0208 133 56116. I've given out the number early this time, but I'm very sure that we hear for as many of you as possible. So, Naima, my first question to you. In some communities, male circumcision is considered to promote good hygiene and have health benefits. Why do you reject female circumcision? Or indeed, why do you call the practice female genital mutilation? Please explain.
All right. When you look at the history of circumcision, male circumcision, it is more originated from Abraham's religion. And from what I know, Abraham circumcised his son at the age of 8. And based on that, a lot of religious beliefs, Islam, Jewish, are the main supporters of that. And from what I know, it is medically proven that male circumcision is kind of like good in terms of like improving hygiene and decreasing urinary tract infection and more of less STD. And when you're looking at the word mutilation and circumcision, and it's more like, what is that mutilation? Mutilation is more like cutting part of an organ or something like that, mercilessly. Circumcision, maybe it depends on the procedure of doing it. And honestly speaking, for many people might have heard, or I know more FGM, why is it circumcision? Maybe if you allow me to tell you a bit of, just I'm not going to talk so much in terms, because I know some of your listeners might be sitting with their children, and this is a very, very, very sensitive topic. And imagine of that bit of part which is being cut without local anesthetic or anything with a razor blade or anything in it. And then you have that sense of feeling that pain. And when you are taken in that setting of hospital, where just maybe that differences as well, but it is more culturally and religiously accepted when it comes to male circumcision. And medically proven it to be okay rather than the way for the women. There is no justification for women FGM whatsoever, medically or anything. There is no health benefits. So I think that is why, and even for example in Islam, is one way of being accepted as being a Muslim. So those are the kind of things. It's more something when it's accepted and it's with health benefit is completely different from when it's just done for the sake of doing it, because of position of women in that community.
I completely understand, and thank you. This has been an education for me in these past few weeks. And increasingly, I'm horrified.
I'll pause there on that one, but it's, again, that was most, just those few minutes, revealed a great deal, and those few words of hers was really quite insightful. And, she's a remarkable woman, I have to say, a remarkable woman. And I have to say that she described herself as being a political activist. I'm proud to tell you that today, Naima Ali is now an elected councillor.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Indeed. And I'm even prouder to say that she's a councillor in the ward that I occupy as well. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? There's someone with such courage, such character to work with someone. It's great pleasure. Now, that strength of character, oh my dear, she's absolutely wonderful. We need to get her back on again to talk about this subject and other subjects to which are passionate to her. Okay, you and her would get on extremely well. You're very, very similar in so many ways. So I welcome your forthrightness. I welcome your forthrightness. You have my highest respect.
But like I said, if you don't stand for anything, what do you really stand for? If you don't have an opinion about something, what are you standing for?
You are so right. You are so right. And that's why you're here, my Empress. That's why you're here. I don't mind you take on anything I say, so that I have to refine and think through all what I say. There's no presumption of acceptance. You are right to question. I welcome all your questions. Well done. And as I say again, my Empress, listen to yourself and to who is now Councillor Naima Ali. Yes.
Can I ask, on her show, did she talk about how FGM is performed?
Well, remember, this is still very much a family show.
Okay,
so
that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
because if you do the training and if you go to where they speak about it, they tell you how it's done. And obviously it's done in a very unclean way. And obviously it involves a load of women as well. So that's what I was just asking. And because girls can be as young as, I think, 5.
Yes.
Or even maybe lower. I'm not too sure. But I know they can be as young as 5 and upwards.
Okay. Anyway, thank, first of all, your comment, but most certainly thank Councillor Naima Ali.
But I just want to make people understand it is not an Islamic thing. It is a cultural thing. Even though it happens in a lot of Muslim countries, it is a cultural thing. I just want to put that out there.
I'm not going to contest what you say, because and I'm sure that we need to secure the involvement of our cultural leaders, such as someone will come on to Her Royal Highness later on. We'll talk about her, we'll come on to her later on. We need to talk about this with our cultural leaders, most certainly. But let's go to the other show I think we need to look at. And this show, another personality who you so much enjoyed. Okay.
Good.
Selena Carty.
I loved her. Loved her. She's full of life and energy. I love her.
Oh, as I said, the abundance of high quality shows that I had to review, it was, I'm not sure, maybe we should dedicate 10 minutes per show just to review, because there's some high quality interviews, information rich interviews. Oh gosh. But let me go to Selena.
But also, I would like more people to call in and ask us questions. That would be great. I know it's early in the morning, but it's nice to have dialogues with other people who have other opinions as well, or that can make links for us within the community. That would be like even more great. Because as you said, it's a family show, and we need to encourage, and talk about people that are in our community, that are supporting the community.
Absolutely. Let me get right into this recording, because she was truly inspirational. Let me just get it up on my screen. There we go.
I don't know why I'm full of energy. I don't speak, but I'm full of energy.
As you should be. As you should be.
I've got to it kills me. I think we was asking about why you started the Black Poppy was camping in the first place. I think that was so all the viewers can hear.
Okay, so I Because I feel that our community is heavily disrespected. You know, that's the first thing. And you know, I've studied history for a long time now, for about 15 years, and I've looked at the examples of yesteryear. I've looked at what I think works. I've looked at what I think doesn't work. And, you know, I hold no judgment on those who've made choices, because, you know, I'm empowered by those who have made choices, because they help me to be rational with the choices that I go on to make. But it gives me examples to see what may have worked, may not have worked. So with the Black Heroes, the idea was to go out to the average person on the road. Anybody on the road. What do you think? Started almost like a door-to-door salesman, even though I did door-to-door sales when I was younger. So a lot of the things I did when I was younger kind of prepared me for this point. And I was asking them, do you think we need one? And you know, the consensus was, well, we weren't even there, so what do we need one for? And I'm like, well, I know we were there, but you don't know we were there, which means that we need one, right? Because you don't know. And you're not trying to know with what already is available. And if we're not trying to know with what's already available, then from my perspective, more has to be done. But it's in the way that it has to be done, you know? Because I don't force this on anybody. You know, want it or don't want it. You know, it's there, it's ready for you when you do want it or when you think you need it. But at no point should anything be forced on anybody if they're not ready, because that produces, you know, some abhorrent results for, you know, venomous responses, because the traumas that we all deal with, we don't know what one another is dealing with. And that's why with symbolism, you know, when people are wearing it, there are many people saying that, you know, they start conversations and now they've built friendships because they've seen somebody who is wearing one, and as a result it makes them feel an affinity with that other person, because you know, as much as we're not talking enough to one another about what we actually think personally. You know, we're almost nurtured into a way that we should be thinking or feeling, because this is the black voice, this is the black narrative, this is what black people do, this is what black people have done. Well, that's not true. That's what that person has done. That's what that community, you know, communities who wanted to learn more would use it as a platform to be able to start having a say and being confident that their say matters, that their voice matters, irrespective of where they are, irrespective of who say, well, you know, we already do this for you, but you're unable to do this for me because I'm telling you this is how I want it done for me, and I'm to make space for me, as our ancestors continue to do, so that there's respect on our name, there's respect on our contribution, there's respect on our title. So when we're having to deal with these microaggressions, these micro racism, all of these things that, you know, people don't actually realize are actually are happening to them, or we're going through for our children, that we are empowered with our truth, our understanding, our history, our connectivity. So when we're facing the world that tells us that we don't matter, yeah, we already know that is a fallacy, and we will prove that time and time again, and we will continue to carve out the spaces that are required for us to carve out for future generations to also be empowered by that narrative.
Let's pause there for a second. Because wasn't that a truly powerful narrative? First of all, my Empress, and this is the first observation, speaking to young people, and asking about our African contribution to the world wars, and for the young people to say that we were not there. Can you imagine when hundreds of thousands of Africans died in the Second and First World Wars? Yeah, isn't that a almost awful testament to Britain, that somehow that narrative could seep through to young people, that African peoples didn't contribute to the wars, didn't die.
But this is why I say to people, especially in our community, and obviously I'm part of two communities, so I'm Muslim and I come from the Black community, and I say to my son, Blacks, Muslims contributed to a lot in society. It's not just recently, it was not 100 years ago, it's been for many years. Because I don't know, there's a book that we've got called the 1001 Things That Muslims Have Invented. And I've got history to my son, and I always say this to my friends and my families and those close to me. Don't just let the schools educate your children, educate your children as well. And there's a parent I absolutely love in my son's school, and it's one of my son's very good friends, mums. when it's Black History Month or any time of the year, she has books about great things that Black people do. She teaches them about music, diversity, and food, everything. I don't know if I should mention her name on here, but she's great at doing that with her children. And I love that about her. She sends me information. And I think that is a great example of not just teaching at home, but giving her children a wide variation of stuff to learn about. And that is so, so important. Not just at school should children be getting education, they should be getting it at home as well. And that is so, so important.
Yes. Thank you, because you've responded with such beauty again. Such beauty. Absolutely. It's our responsibility to teach our children. Let me go to the next phase of this interview. Very quickly, a few more minutes, if I may.
Absolutely. You know, you're singing my
space. But that will go down to what we teach in our schools. No, if the curriculum doesn't, and I say results. Yeah, that as well. But schools has to remember, in certain, there's a high population of children from community, the Asian community. And as I've gone around looking at schools for my son, the first thing I ask is, how do you meet the needs of the pupils in your school? What are you teaching in English? What are you teaching here? Like I know they've got this thing of let's do some still hands for them. But we are more than still hands and more than in a field. I hate it. There's so much more to us. Like you've got Kwame Nkrumah, you've got JJ. There's so many people that I could really name from my culture that have been great people. But then when you're trying to get our kids not to, but maybe music is for you. Why can't science? Why can't maths be for them? You know, we've got a guest that we had who works for the NHS. He's amazing. Like, you know, he's the first Black in his profession. Our kids to be more, you know, and especially in our communities, why can't we teach us our history rather than down and just be on an iPad? Like, it's so important. And thank you, Tilly. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Please don't be sorry.
Okay, I'll go on.
With that, remember, our schools are literally just that. They're just schools. Yeah? The national curriculum isn't designed by schools. Yeah? And our teachers, you know, they're in a predicament that they're in various different predicaments, right? And the idea is to educate individuals, because then individuals are able to make sense of the parameters that they are gifted to be able to make these inclusions. And when it comes down to, you know, who is classified as significant, who decides that? Who decides that? Let me see, for this country, who decides that? Ignatius Sancho, the first Black man to vote in this country, or Leary Constantine, the first Black speaker in the House of Lords, or Diane Abbott, the first Black woman MP. Who decides which one of those three is most important for the narrative of this country? Before we even get outside of, you know, of anybody else, people who don't, you know, really understand. But who decides that those three in particular are important from the 1790s to 1900s?
You make a really powerful point. I know that Professor Patrick Vernon is on a committee to discussing what's in the national curriculum. And there are other notable academics who have been interacting with the government Department of Education to ensure that the recording and teaching of history of African people, Black people tonight, treats us with respect. And doesn't simply focus on our incarceration during the period of slavery, but recognises our long, majestic history. History which is evidently far greater in terms of length than history of Britain, for example. And of course, much of the technologies are founded upon African inspiration, mathematics, literature, science, astrology, are all African concepts which are today manifesting the society we have. funny enough, I've just noted that some of our guests couldn't hear you in response to earlier questions. And I don't want you to go word for word, but where you can, really the answer to the second question, it is your experience that the British military agencies appreciate the sacrifices African women and men have made in service of Britain. I know you get an answer, but I think there are quite a lot of people who couldn't quite hear you.
Okay.
Just a partial response.
So I do think that they appreciate it because I do think they appreciate it because it's about bottoms filling seats, you know, and if you're able to do the job while you're filling the seats, I definitely think they're appreciative of that. Whether or not they feel that needs any additional, you know, celebration, I'm not sure about that. But you know, it's definitely about bottoms filling seats. And I'm not in the military, but I know I've heard, I hear many stories of those who are serving, who have served, and they talk about the, you know, the warfare that they have to go through in regards to a lot of the prejudice nature that can be found within the army. But that's the same prejudices that, you know, Diane Abbott and you know, Dawn Clark are facing as MPs in the House of Lords. It doesn't matter what environment you're in, for you to be underappreciated based on your race and based on your gender. And I had said about colonial, that we're a part of a colonial infrastructure. So since 1884, when they divided up Africa, and 1700, where they divided up the West Indies and North America, you know, we've been under European infrastructure, racist infrastructure from our perspective, designed to impoverish and keep people of color in a certain position. So no matter what parts of the world you're going in, there are positions that are allocated for us, because if you allow those who are colonized to gain equality with you, you then have got a new enemy. So you undereducate them, you keep their money at a certain level, you keep their people at a certain position. So you offer them work, because being in the army is a job. You offer them 4 years in this country, not 5 years, but 5 years would make them eligible for citizenship. So you offer them 4 years, and then you send them home. That's right. Don't ask what you send them home to do, but they've done their work experience, they've been paid, they've been able to have access to whatever they could have access to for the 4 years. But again, this is my opinion, right? But you send them home to do what? But that's not their business, you know. When we look at it, we look at it from an emotional perspective. That's not their business. Everything about this world is about making money. Yeah, it's not about whether or not you're nice or you're likable. It's about making money. That is a fact. Look at any job. You know, your personality brings character and brings more to making money at the end of the day to the table, no matter what environment you're in. And our contributions, you know, without the Second World War, we wouldn't be in this country, in these numbers that we are in this country, because they asked us to come and rebuild their country. Yeah? So, but they didn't expect us to stay here as long as we stayed here. They expected us to go home because we are servants for them. Yeah, they expected us to return back to the colonies that they had created for us in the West Indies, and to the environment on the continent of Africa, where they will be able to continuously benefit from our resources. Yeah, that's the truth of the foundation. So anything we go into, we will be appreciated for our labour, but whether or not we're appreciated for our community, that's another conversation that people have to have within the environments that they find themselves in. And, you know, we all make opinions about things that we have no access to information. You know, we have no access to anything that would allow us to have conversations to be able to develop on those opinions. So I'm very careful when I say about environments that I don't have access to. But I definitely know that in any working environment, it's definitely about making money, building business, building relationships to be able to continue to develop business. And whether or not you appreciate somebody because of their racial classification, I don't believe that is in existence in many places. And I don't believe that it necessarily matters to Europeans when it comes down to ensuring that they pick the best person for the job from their perspective. It's almost like, they had a multinational fleet. Yeah, why? So they could send the person of that place, of those people, to those people to be able to deliver Starfleet's commands. That's how it was. Did they celebrate them? Yes, on how much they could subdue their people to get them to believe what they were doing for Starfleet. So that's how I see it.
Let's pause there on that one, because she clearly is speaking in the most forthright manner. She's providing a perspective, of course. For us, of course, that interview, there's a number of sections of that interview which I'd like to play, maybe not today, but at a future point, to make some really interesting observation about British society, the Black Poppy Rose campaign, the ex-service men and women that she's been able to support through the money raised through the campaign, and of course, the impact her campaign and others have had on the Imperial War Graves Commission, which was a commission that noted that many of the British war memorials excluded the names of African peoples, either from the continent or from the Caribbean, who died in defense of Britain. And that clearly, because they've apologized, and indeed the Prime Minister has apologized, that this happened. But it required courageous people such as Selina and others to put themselves forward and point out that this was a travesty, something that should never happen again. So never again should one of our children suggest, as a result of the teaching and learning experience in schools, that an African person did not contribute to the wars. Can you imagine? Oh my dear, can you imagine? Any thoughts about my Empress? Any thoughts on this?
Check out the website, it's amazing. And even the links that she sent me is amazing. And like when the kids saw people that they could see in themselves in the war, they would go back and ask their grandparents, which is so lovely, because what people don't realize is the older generation are full of wisdom and they have so many stories to tell you about things that happened in the past. So absolutely. I love when my grandparents were alive, I love talking to them about things in the past, about Ghana and about our culture. And it just makes you want to repeat those kind of things. So when I see people from our culture in the war, it makes me happy to feel like they were still part of something, and that can't be eradicated, that can never change, because there's actual documentation that shows that. So it makes me feel warm inside.
If I may then, let's go to a few minutes of the next interview with Her Majesty. Okay, I found her quite captivating in so many ways, really captivating. And let's go right. In fact, let's not say anything on this one. Let's go right into this, because this is truly wonderful, truly wonderful, truly wonderful. She is so absolutely regal. And
Ghana, welcome to you, Your Highness. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very well, Councillor, and I am very happy to have joined you once again. Discuss Ghana, everything we love about this beautiful country. And good morning, Abina.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Demotivator, thank you very much, Councillor, and for having me once again. It's a real pleasure to join you this morning.
Thank you. And if I'm allowed to say, I've got a wonderful picture of you behind me at the moment. And I must say, you are as regal as ever, if I may. I hope you don't mind. Okay? I will.
Thank you.
There you are. And I'm conscious of our time, so I want to really go to it. This time, it's an opportunity for us to look at the country. And many opportunities to experience.
For those of us who need to travel to Ghana to experience and experience the people, the environment, and also, of course, the opportunities for entrepreneurship, for wealth creation. Okay. This time, we hope to give light to why Ghana is the place to go. That is the destination place. Okay. And there are a few questions we want to put to you, and I hope you don't mind.
Not at all. Not at all.
Right.
Ask away.
My first question for you, if I may. When visiting Ghana, would I need a visa and would I need to be vaccinated?
Yes, in a nutshell. So if you don't hold a Ghanaian passport, then you will need a visa. And in order to apply for the visa, you would need to contact our consulate in Highgate. And the Ghana High Commission consulate in Highgate, any Google search should bring you their address. And what you need to do is go onto the website and make your application via the website. You will be issued with a date, an appointment date, to go in and process your application. They will tell you when to pick it up, and if you're lucky, you might be able to pick it up the same day. However, due to administrative processes and the volume of requests they have, it may take a week or so. But yes, you will need a visa to go to Ghana, and you will need to be vaccinated. One of the first ones is the yellow fever vaccine. These days, of course, because of COVID, there are rules around it, and the High Commission website provides information. It's so dynamic and it's always changing. So you need to check the most up-to-date vaccination information from the UK government's perspective, as well as from the Ghana government's perspective. The other thing is, one of the things that I'm championing together with the the Hospital for Tropical Medicine, some of the medical professionals there, is malaria prevention, bringing it back. So it might be worth going in and investing in anti-malarial medication, and also check information about malaria and what to do when you go to a place like Ghana, because every tropical location has the potential for malaria and bringing it back into the UK.
A further question on the question of visas, passports. This show has been sort of promoted right across the world.
Yes.
Inquiries from the Caribbean. The question put to me, well, why should those of us born in the Caribbean to Ghana require a passport when we are one people?
The issue of visas and passports, believe it or not, most of the direction comes from the IOM, which is the International Office of Migration. And so Ghana, like most countries, would have to abide by these directions. Now, as to whether or not people from the Caribbean should be obtaining visas, is a matter of advocacy. So if our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean feel very strongly that if they want to visit any African location, any African country, they should not be required to obtain a visa, my suggestion would be, please advocate. Okay, at the moment, these are the rules, but advocate very strongly and make a strong case as to why not. Because every change does start with advocacy. But for now, unfortunately, these are rules apply, just like everywhere else.
I agree. I'm not just qualifying, but this will help others. Advocacy, and I can acknowledge, to whom should the advocacy be targeted?
The Ghanaian government, most definitely, because once you target it to the right authorities within Ghana, I'll say target the Ministry of Foreign Affairs especially, and just make a strong case to why you want your case to be clear, you want it to be concise, and you want it to have value. So this is not angry advocacy, but the type of advocacy that gives people a eureka moment. And so if you go to the Foreign Affairs Ministry in Ghana and you say, well, as a group of Caribbeans, we feel very strongly that we're part of the land, we're children of the soil, and we're displaced. As we feel that if we want to come back home, we shouldn't have to be constrained by visa restrictions. And here is why. This is what we're bringing on board. We're bringing on board our human resources. We're bringing on board our financial resources. We're bringing on board our skill sets. And knowledge, and to help build this continent. And the starting point for us maybe is Ghana, is Nigeria, is wherever it is that you want to target the advocacy. I think that will have
Thank you. I heard the response. Yes, we need to analyse. We need to analyse, and we seek out advocacies within the country and external to the country, and we need to have ensure our voices are heard.
Absolutely.
My next, I'm going to pause it just for a moment on this particular point, my Emperor, and I felt it was quite a almost a precedent response by Her Royal Highness. Advocacy. Then I noticed a few weeks thereafter, I'm not suggesting that this show had anything to do with the presence of Ghana's speech to the world. Okay, and I'm going to play you the speech, just only 5 minutes of it. Let's listen to what the President of Ghana has said quite recently. Are you prepared for this, my Empress? Are you prepared?
Go for it.
Oh, here we go. She says, go for it. Okay, let's go for it, I think. Here we go. Let's bring it up. Let's bring it up now. And I'm going to, there we go. Bring it up, because this is going to be quite interesting to hear what the President of Ghana has said. There we go. Here we are. Let's bring it up. Listen to what he says.
I've studied it before. And sometimes it appears the world's Africa and Africans have more resonance outside the continent than inside. We are home on our continent. It all seems very important to assert that Ghanaians are warriors, Kenyans, Nigerians, Swazis, Senegalese, Rwandans, South Africans, and Zambians. Then we find ourselves outside the continent. And then discovered that to the outside world, there are no Ghanaians, there are no Senegalese, there are no Tanzanians, there are only Africans. There are only Africans, and we are all simply Africans. The lesson for me is clear. Our destinies link to each other, and we're talking not only about those of us on the continent, but about the Africans in the diaspora as well. The urgent responsibility we face is to make our countries and our continent attractive for our people, to see them as places of opportunities. It means we provide education, quality education, skills training. It means our young people must acquire the skills that run modern economies. The impact of a successful Africa on the image and standing of Africans in the diaspora applies with equal force to the image and standing of our sons and daughters who go by the name African Americans. And indeed to all our kith and kin in the Americas and the Caribbean. There's a lot of room for your perspectives and energies back in Africa. The second half of the 20th century witnessed a great blow for human progress and freedom when the African peoples, in the wake of Ghana's shining example, liberated themselves from the colonial and imperialist yoke and the racist ideology of apartheid and emerged as free, independent peoples to construct new nations of hope and advancement. The first half of the 21st century should consolidate this development and see the growth of modern, prosperous, technologically advanced nations within a united Africa, which would make a reality of the dream of the 21st century as the African century and bring dignity and respect to Black people all over the world. We've done enough talking, and dare I say we've had enough conferences and workshops. We know what we need to do. It is time just to do it. We've run out of excuses for the state of our continent. We have the manpower, we should have the political will. It is time to make Africa work. We have good reason to be proud of who we are and the beautiful continent to the second largest of the 7 continents. It has 30% of the world's remaining minerals of value. It has some of the most breathtaking scenes on our planet. It has plants and animals that are wonders of the world and critical for the survival of the globe. I hear a lot about the need to change our narrative and tell our own good story. Ladies and gentlemen, as the saying goes, nothing succeeds like success. If we work at it, if we stop being beggars and spend Africa's monies inside the continent, Africa would not need to ask for respect from anyone. We would get the respect we deserve.
What's this called? Hello? Demotivate, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm speaking to myself. Oh my gosh! I want to thank the president of Ghana for a speech that was absolutely inspiring, truly inspiring, and of course what he is displaying is leadership, and I hope that other leaders across the continent will give similar speeches as well. I want to give a big shout, of course, to the African Renaissance Time TV channel on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed to them, I recommend that channel to them. The African Renaissance Times TV. That's where I got this particular clip from. I want to commend to you the President of Ghana, a truly visionary leader. Well done, well done, well done. And of course, it's quite clear that Her Majesty's interview, to which I've only played a very small clip thus far, was truly inspirational. And I wonder, my Empress, thinking about what you've heard so far, what's your reaction to what you've heard so far?
From the President of Ghana?
Indeed, yes.
I think it's a great idea. I've never been anti-progression in Africa because I think it's very important for us to be progressive, and I think a lot of people would not like us to be progressive, and there have been many incidents over the years where they've tried to stop Africa from being progressive in anything that they do. But again, we are Ghanaians, we are Nigerians, we are a mix of people, and that mix makes us rich and makes us diverse, and it makes us interesting, and that's what I love. As being Africans, you know, we are rich, we are diverse, we strive to do better, but that mix makes us great as well. So Africa does want to become one nation, and I think that's great, but we have to counteract the differences that we have where people think you know, we need to do this and we need to do that. But I personally believe that anything we as Africans can do, we put our minds to, we can do it. And I think that will appear over time if we keep doing what we're doing and don't divide ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, and well said. That's why you're here. You know, that's why you.
I have to make it politically correct, because sometimes when we talk on the phone, you're like, no, you can't say that, and you can't say this, and you can't say that. But I'm very honest about how I feel and what I think is happening. And like I told you, there's a lot of things I think needs to change, but you know, that will happen within time and within greatness and with experience.
Remember, this is where we translate our words into action. And of course, success is ours for the taking. Oh yeah, you see?
Oh yeah, he's hyped. Yeah.
You've made it manifest. You see, and if I may, I did want to continue a little bit more on the Her Majesty's interview. So there's some interesting features of the interview. We spend another 5 minutes on it. And the interesting features of Her Majesty's.
If anyone wants to take me to Ghana and I do a travel show for them on Ghana, any viewers want to do that, I'm happy to do that for you. Is that what you're saying, the motivator?
I'm going to comment on that, okay? I'm going to comment. Damn, you do. I'm not going to say you can't do that on the air, but you know, I'm here to protect you. That's what I'm going to say.
No, I don't. Viewers, I do not need protecting. You know, I'm a good girl. I don't need protecting.
Okay. You're a mortal woman. Okay. Anyway, let me continue. Let me continue with Her Majesty's interview, because there's so much that we learned from this second interview. Let's talk right actually this time. Here we go.
Actually, it's been a vibrant celebration this year. And to give you a bit of a background, the Homoa Festival is a harvest festival celebrating the exodus from when we were moving from Egypt all the way to our current location. We arrived in Ayawa, still in Accra, set our roots there, and began to spread. Now, we celebrate a period of famine that was experienced during this exodus. And when we found meal, we decided to give thanks and then hoot. In my culture, when you hoot at someone, and I'm going to demonstrate, if you go to somebody, it's a sign of disdain. And so when we hoot at anger, we were telling it never to return. And so go to Accra in festival season, the Greater Accra region. And then you have, in the Dangme region, you have the festivals in Ada, so which celebrates the culture. You have the Depot festivals, which celebrate coming of age for young ladies. I won't go too much into the coming of age ceremony, except to say that I personally want to advocate for that to come back very strongly, because traditionally this is how we trained young girls to take pride in themselves, to hold their in some respects, chastity dear, to be respectful of their body, and to carry themselves in a manner that is respectful and dignified. And then we come to the tourist attractions. Now, Accra is, first of all, there is the very vibrant nightlife. You will not move through Accra on any given night or evening without.
Can I just stop it there as regards that tradition to prepare boys and girls for adulthood? You know, I thought what she described there was beautiful. And she said she wished those traditions would come back en masse. Okay. I can't disagree with her. I can't disagree with you. Do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I do. I think it's very important. Like, I remember when I was younger, And my mum used to make me go to these Ghanaian dance lessons where you can understand the culture and the rites of passage. And there's this thing that I don't know if they still have it here because of COVID, but we used to have this thing called an aklewa, where all Ghanaians used to go, and it's to see the rites of passage, how they do things, how you greet the chiefs, and Ghana independence, all those kind of things that we seem to start having here now is great, because that's how you see things. That's how you learn about your identity and who you are. So I can definitely resonate with what she's saying 100%. I think those things are very important.
Mm-hmm. And we do the same for your son? Is there a tradition for the men as well?
Well, Islam takes more precedence over culture, so I don't think that will be happening with my son.
Okay. That's a discussion we definitely need to have.
That's something that will be. Obviously, he understands he's Ghanaian. He's got a Ghanaian name. My mum speaks him in the languages. She talks to him about what people used to do as a young child. So he's very aware. From my family side, I'm not really sure of his dad's side of what they do. But for me, Islam takes precedence over our culture, because obviously culture, we can't mix Islam and culture together, even though people do. But I'm very more about the Islamic side more than the cultural side, I think I would say, in regards to my son, because he is a born Muslim from our generation, whereas me and his dad are reverts. So it's a bit different.
Okay. It's a discussion we need to have an eye. Don't you worry.
I don't know if I want to do that, but yeah.
Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. As I said, that's why you're here. Listen, this diversity, that's why you're here. Don't worry. Let me just continue. She's now going to go on to talk about the nightlife. Just spend a few more minutes.
If anyone wants to know about Ghanaian nightlife, go to Ghana at Christmas time. You will understand nightlife and Ghana when you go at Christmas time.
Well, let's hear what Her Majesty says first of all. Then we'll go back.
I hear music blasting from some speakers all over the place, and dancing. But there is a vibrant nightlife. You can visit any number of night activities, nightclubs. You have the Accra. One of the key attractions in there is the Accra Art Center, which some of the finest artwork. Sculpture. You find fine artisans, and if you want to come back with something uniquely Ghanaian or African, you will find it in the art center. And also there are guides in the art center who will be able to tell you the history surrounding some of the artwork, as well as Accra. You will be able to visit the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, which is at the Independence Square in Ghana, in Osu, where the first president of Ghana's remains are located and housed. You will be able to visit Labadi Beach, some of our beach attractions, where it is attached to a very beautiful The La Beach Hotel. You can have fun, there's live music, you can enjoy activities such as horse riding, fine food, you can enjoy surfing even has been introduced in Ghana now, and other beach-related activities, and just have a very wonderful time at the beach. You can also visit the local vicinity. So if you go to Jamestown, where I'm from, or Mleshi, which is the traditional name for it, if you go to Mleshi, for instance, you see how actually the locals live. We have the lighthouse opposite the palace, and there are tour guides that will take you around and tell you the history. Actually, that location has many emerging tourist attractions. So Mleshi has we have tunnels that many people don't know about, that guides can take you through, that lead from one section of were used by slavers to transport our brothers and sisters in some very, very dark circumstances. So some of these tunnels were used, and it's worth visiting that history, understanding the mentality behind that very awful experience of our brothers and sisters in terms of attraction. And then we come to Kakum National Park, one of my favorites actually. It is a tropical forest type of park. And it boasts one of the biggest canopy walkways. The brave among us are able to traverse this canopy, but many a strong man and woman have been brought to tears walking along that canopy. It's a very, very scary experience. But the canopy connects 7 different trees across the forest and brings you into the forest proper. It was established in 1931 and is located in the central region, specifically a village called Abrafu near Cape Coast. And it has been designated an important bird area. It also boasts wildlife, including the African elephant, and has restaurants, a lodge, picnic areas for camping, and an education center. Then we have Mole. You mentioned Mole earlier. Now, it's not Mole. It's spelled more, but it's Mole National Park, which is situated in the Savannah region in the northern part of Ghana, in the West Gonja district of Ghana, near a town called Larabaga. Now, Larabaga also hosts one of the most iconic, ancient, and sacred mosques, which is also a tourist attraction. But Mole Park has been designated a UNESCO heritage site, and Ghana has this. It also boasts, mammal species such as elephants, antelope, buffalo, warthog, etc. Also has lions, leopards, hyena, mongoose, and over 300 species of birds. And also the other good thing is the Konkori waterfall is only about 100 kilometers from the Mole Park. So if you're very brave and you're adventurous, you may want to visit the Konkori waterfall. Very little known about it, but it's there. There are also caves that you might want to explore with a rich history. Okay, so we also, and then they have conference facilities, a hotel, obviously, and viewing platforms, and also an airstrip for those wanting to go by air. We also have in Zulezu the Stilt Village. Now, this is a village that's built on stilts, on water, and it is situated in the western region, bordering Côte d'Ivoire, which is the Ivory Coast in English, and it's about 7 hours drive from Accra. But it's also said that their deity, their spiritual guardian, was a snail who led them to this location and instructed them to build a village on the water. So there is no electricity, but people have television. And the way power is generated in that village is by using car batteries. So they've become very innovative, and they've transformed car batteries as a source of power supply for various things. But they
I'll pause there. As I said, it's she goes on to describe various locations across Ghana as a destination place for tourists, and then she goes on to talk about investment opportunities, which we'll play another time, I think. But it does provide useful insight into this wonderful country. Yes, sir. I say wonderful country, Empress Abner. That is Ghana. A fantastic, outstanding president who clearly has a visionary zeal. We need more of that across the continent. And I look forward, because I believe there is another speech of his where he discusses the diaspora and how important the diaspora is to Ghana's future. Okay, but I won't play it this week. I'll play it maybe next week, because that particular speech is truly one for us all to behold. But this last year was most certainly, as I said earlier, a truly rich year with an extremely high standard of contributors. Okay, and I working with you, my Empress, would like to maintain that standard. And And there are some really interesting personalities that will appear on the Motivator show. We've included myself, the Motivator, and the outstanding and exceptional Empress Abner.
I'm looking forward to this year's guest. I'm very excited.
Oh yeah, it is definitely going to be an interesting year. Any closing thoughts for you on what you've heard so far in terms of the contributors so far, and what lessons you might have learned, my Empress?
I think if you believe in something and if you feel passionate about something, you can open doors for yourself, you can open doors for your community, and you can just shine within whatever area you specialize in. I think that's what Selena Carter has shown. I think the Royal Highness of Ghana has shown. What's his name? Code 7. The guy that talked about diabetes, I can't remember his name again. That's really bad.
You had Lee Jasper and Lyndon Lizard.
Lyndon Lizard, yes, him. I think he is a great example. Like, he knew about his health, he knew what he wanted to change, and he did it. He stood by it, he believed in it, and he went forth and did something great. And I think, that's what we call silent superheroes. There's loads within our community, like the Black Plaque Project. So, what I call them are Black silent superheroes. Like, I call my son the Black Hulk because he's my Hulk, he's my strength. He makes me want to be great. So I think once you believe in something and you're passionate about it and you put it forward, anything can happen and materialize from it. And I think these people have all shown that. Selena Carter, the diabetes with the diabetes book, Code 7, the Black Plaque Project, they've shown greatness through everything they've done. And I think that's amazing. I think, we need more superheroes in our community.
Well, I have to say, and I would say this, we've got an abundance of superheroes in the community. Unsung heroes and heroines in the community. I want to say heroines deliberately because the abundance amongst our women folk is astonishing. Okay, and I want to give a big shout out to the women in my community. A big shout out to you all. Thank you so much.
Can I just give a shout out to 2 people, please? Quickly.
We lost you for a moment. Yeah, continue.
Yeah. Sorry, I want to give a shout out to a woman called Sherelle, who used to work for Fight for Change. She's an amazing person. And this woman's actually called Sherelle as well. Her name is Sherelle Campbell as well. For just continuously being a great advocate for Black history, for raising 2 amazing young boys. So they're 2 people. They're both called Sherelle that I want to give a big shout out to as well.
Thank you so much. We've got maybe a minute or so that we need to break off so we can release the Galaxy Freeway network. But I just want to say that it's been a privilege to have you join the show this past 6 months or so now.
God, it's been that long? Oh, God.
I did want to say it's been a privilege, a true pleasure. I look forward to the forthcoming year. And I want to emphasize to the audience, it is simply not hollow words. Here we translate words into action, yeah? But remember, because it's mindset, success is ours for the taking. You've heard the Emperor speak in the same tones. So I say to you all, until the next strong, I'm the motivator. I'm the motivator alongside Empress Abner. Until the next strong, stay well, take deliberate action to stay healthy and strong, and love with intensity and meaningfulness. Praise be. Praise Jah, Rastafari, Oshun. There you go. For the next one, my
have a great weekend, people. I'm going back to bed. Have a great weekend. Bye.
She didn't say that, did she?
I have. I'm going back to bed. Bye.
Until the strong, people, until the next strong, I remain the motivator, where success is ours for the taking. Praise be. Take care. Take care.